All right, let's get into the discussion for today. We read 2 chapters of Game of Thrones, Tyrion VI and Eddard 11. All right, I am a little frazzled today. I'm going to admit it. Things are a little weird. So, Tyrion VI. This is the chapter where Tyrion and Bran are walking through the mountains of the Vale.
Yep.
After being kicked out of the Eyrie, after Bran wins the trial by combat for Tyrion, and they're trying to make their way back to civilization, basically.
Stay away from the mountain folk.
Yeah.
The mountain
What
clan.
goes on in this chapter, and what struck you about it?
Well, it was more of bonding between Tyrion and Bran.
There's a lot of it, yeah.
Like, Tyrion kind of... there was a part where he was kind of basically saying Bran was a lower being and everything like that.
I wrote that part down.
Did you?
Because, I mean, it started out like Tyrion just goes up and straight up says to Bran, "You are scum, Bran.
Yeah.
Duty, honor, friendship. What's that to you?" Like, they're very upfront with their places in this relationship and in society in general. What do you think of that? I mean, is that good strategy to call the person who fought for you and is now escorting through the Vale scum?
I think that's more of like the Lannister coming out in Tyrion. Yeah, where he's definitely, it's a class thing. Like you said, it's like he's lived this life where he's better than everybody the rest of his life, or his entire life, except his own family, because he kind of, in this chapter 2, almost has a bitterness of his own elitism. He's like, he's talking down to Bran, but at the same point, he's like, my own family doesn't, and he tells a story about his father, and it's like being cruel to him, and it's like, on the one hand, you have Tyrion, who is the Lannister, and he's talking down to people, and he knows his place. He's an elitist. And on the other side, you have a sympathetic Tyrion, who understands somebody who he's described as scum, because he's like, to my family, I'm scum. I'm the one that they didn't want.
Yeah,
so
I see it.
He's kind of relating himself to Bran in the same vein as talking down to him and being like, just remember your place in this whole partnership. But at the same time, he's like, I see we're kind of more even than I would like to admit, maybe.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I think the way I put it is that Tyrion kind of is comfortable with scum.
It's true.
he gets along with that element. He doesn't have a problem with it. He's funny. I mean, like you said, his family treats him as scum, or at least his father and sister do. So he sympathizes with people like that. And I think it's really important. Well, the other side of it is that, I mean, Tyrion says these things to Bran, but Bran stays.
Yeah.
Like, Bran has a moment where he's like, I should leave you here with your fool's fire. If I took your horse, I'd have twice the chance to make it through the mountains. Like, that's all true. He could leave Tyrion to die and make it out. Why doesn't Bran go?
Well, they're both noble. They're both noble characters, I think. Well, in that scum attracting scum, like they very much identify with one another. I think Tyrion, like you said, they're comfortable. Tyrion's comfortable with Bran, and Bran is comfortable with Tyrion. There's kind of like that respect going. Like, Bran very much fought to save Tyrion. Mostly, we talked about this last week, because he wanted to kill something.
No, I think we talked about it last week. He wanted that. I think, and they bring it up this week. He fought because Tyrion's rich.
Yeah, well, that's not necessarily like he's fighting out of the goodness of his heart. Right. But at the same time, I think it's like there's something there. Like, I don't think that was the only reason. You know, Han Solo saves Princess Leia in Star Wars. It's not because, you know, we're told it's because she's rich, but at the same time, it's because he's not a bad guy, even though he does play this same kind of character who's on the edge a little bit. So I think that Tyrion and Bran, this bonding that they have, I really enjoy it, because they are very similar. I
think that's a charitable reading of Bran a bit, though. Like, I don't think he's a Han Solo type.
No, he's not Han Solo. The situation is similar, not the characters are similar.
I see it. There's some similarities, but I mean, I think they go over it here. Like, Tyrion basically says the line from the show too. Like, what do you want, Bran? Do you want gold? Do you want land? You will have it all from me as long as I'm alive, not a second longer. The gold stops when I do. So Tyrion knows Bran is scum in a way. He's a sellsword. He sells a sword. He's a mercenary. He is a mercenary person as an occupation, and like kind of who he is. But he knows that Bran wants gold, and he knows that, look, I will give you what you want, but you have to do what I say.
Got to play by the rules.
And Bran could leave, but the way I read it is Bran could leave, but if he does, I mean, what are the chances he runs into another rich dwarf he can fight to save the life of? Like, Bran's hoping this is a gravy train for him.
Yeah, it's true.
But I to agree with you that they do get along. There is a kinship to them, even if I think at this point, and really throughout most of the relationship, it's mostly a lot of what holds them together is money.
Yeah.
And the prospect of Bronn getting money from Tyrion. And then Tyrion can use Bronn because he can do things he can't. Like, what I like is that they complement each other. So
yeah,
Tyrion...
Compliment's good, yeah.
Yeah, they do. Like, you know, Bronn obviously does tons of things Tyrion can't. Like, kill people. And, like, fight well.
Yeah.
And, you know, start fires and hunt game. Like, Tyrion can't do any of that. He's useless in, like, a physical situation. But Tyrion kind of has more foresight. Like, Bronn wants to ride hard through the Vale to get out of it as quickly as possible. But Tyrion's like, you know what? They're going to find us no matter what we do. Let's hunker down. Let's wait for them.
Barter for our lives.
And then they barter.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, what happens? I mean...
Joining forces. Like
exactly. They join
Tyrion,
up.
the smart... the compliment's a good way. I think maybe that was the word that was escaping me a little bit. Complimenting each other is an attraction to this relationship for me, and seeing it unfold like that. Because it is, you know, on the one hand, you've got the brutish Bronn, and then on the other hand, you have little sly Tyrion.
There you go. Good word. Sly. Lion fox. So yeah, I think they work well together. But I do think we should underline the monetary aspect of the relationship. It's really, really important, especially to Bronn.
Yeah.
I mean, that does play in the class, though, again. Because, again, this is a class where if you're at the top, you're at the top. And if you're not, like... There's no like class mobility here. It's like if you're at the bottom, if you find someone like Tyrion Draven, you hang on for dear life, and you try to get where you can. And as we know in the show, Bronn does. He rises up. Yeah. Which is a social climber. What did you make of that long description of Tyrion kind of recounting this story about his first wife, where he marries this girl when he's like 13, has sex with her for the first time, loses virginity to her. And then it ends horribly when it's revealed that, what was the story? That Tywin just hired the girl to pretend she was being accosted by men, and then Tyrion could save her. Yeah. Because he thought, like, it's time you had a woman, time you became a man. And then, oh God, and then because Tywin wanted Tyrion to lose virginity, he didn't want him to marry anybody, a commoner, again, that class thing. Yeah. So then Tywin had all his guards rape the girl, and then had Tyrion rape her, and then sent her away. Yeah. What do you make of that?
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot, like a big block of text.
It was, and it was also heavy as far as like what it was doing what it did to Tyrion. Like a lot of that, I think, was rooted in Tywin's insecurities about his own son, and being like, you know, it's the old like. He doesn't want him to marry. He wants him to lose his virginity. So he wants him to become a man, but he doesn't want to have like a trail that leads back to Tyrion. It's kind of like this old thing where it's like, this old machismo, this old idea of masculinity of being like, you have to be a man's man. And I think that Tywin is a little upset that he's got an imp for a son. So he wants him to be this idea that he has in his head of what he thinks his son should be, versus what his son will be
or wants
to be, and it's kind of all messed together in this. And then I think the situation too is almost a metaphor for that, all those feelings, because it's like this messy, gross, disgusting mess of a situation that's just nothing good comes of it. It's just gross. Everybody feels well, maybe not Tywin, but everybody else kind of feels a little bit weird and gross and awful about it, especially Tyrion. So yeah, it was definitely a lot to take in. Yeah, I'm interested in, should be in Bronn's head for this chapter, being in Bronn's head, hearing this story from Tyrion.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Bronn's head's like. We never get a chapter from him. I mean, it certainly would go away to explaining why a son would shoot his father on the toilet to death. Yeah. Like, if you do that kind of thing to him, I mean, that's going to come back around eventually.
It's terrifying. It's horrible.
It's awful. It also goes to that kind of tender heart Tyrion has under everything. Yeah. Like, he fell in love with the first girl he slept with and then married her even though she was a commoner. He was 13. He was impetuous. But that's the kind of thing. He has a side of him where he is kind of spontaneous and fun and tender. Yeah. But obviously he's papered over it a lot. Yeah. In these days, and hangs out with scum like Bronn instead. Anyway, they get out of the Vale. They get a new cadre of people, although he did promise them to arm them. So it's not like they just joined for fun. No. Like he, I guess, been out of it.
But Tyrion knows how to play the game.
Yeah.
So
and we'll see where that goes. By the way, and please remember the Tysha story, the wife story, because it's on the show, but they drop it.
Huh.
It is in the show.
Yeah.
That they have this whole, it happens a little differently in the show, but he tells that whole story. They bring it up, and then it's kind of forgotten. In the books, it's more consistent. It'll come up more often, and then it'll play a bigger part in some key moments later on down the line.
Bookmark it.
So bookmark it, Tysha. All right, next up, Eddard 11. Ned Stark sits on the Iron Throne and gives some proclamations. What happened to this chapter?
Ever so briefly.
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
Ned sits on the throne. I think that was...
That's fun.
That was kind of significant. Robert is out hunting. His old ill-fated hunting trip. We all know what happens after that.
And while he's out hunting, the Mountain goes and pillages a bunch of, villages and riverlands that are supposed to be protected by the king.
Yeah.
And he's just, I'm away.
Yeah.
And Ned has to deal with kind of the fallout from that.
Which is par for the course, too. Like,
totally.
Everything that we've learned about Robert and his relationship with Ned I don't even know why Ned is friends with Robert. Like, I don't know what happened with them to where they're like, there's this bond, because Robert's very awful to Ned, up to the point where it's like he doesn't defend him in front of his wife. And that kind of leads down this road of like Ned's gonna get killed and all this kind of stuff. He never has Ned's back because it's never convenient to Robert to have his back. Ned sitting on the throne was nice because it's kind of like this conclusion to his story in a way to me, because we know what happens. We know he dies after this.
Right.
So this is kind of, we're always like, we're wondering who's gonna sit on the throne, who's gonna rule. And the idea traditionally would be Ned's our main character. He's eventually going to sit on the throne. That's how it's all going to end. And here he is on the throne, and things aren't going well. He can't handle it. It's too much. And then eventually, he can't handle it. But like, what I took away from it is that he's on the throne, and we know, at least I know, with the foresight, he's going to die.
Sure.
That's significant because it kind of throws everything in a blender, and it's like, this is how it's supposed to go. Guess what? It's not going to happen that way. So,
I agree.
And I kind of liked that. And Ned got his moment, so he sat on the throne.
He sat on the throne. I'm not sure he liked it.
No.
In fact, he talks a lot, Martin, in this chapter about the Iron Throne.
Yep.
I mean, the Iron Throne maybe is the biggest symbol that came out of this show and this world. I feel like you think of Game of Thrones, I mean, one of the first images you have is the Iron Throne.
Swords and all that. And
I mean, it's iconic, it's interesting, it's fun. He describes it a lot here. I think it's important symbolically. An ironwork monstrosity of spikes and jagged edges and grotesquely twisted metal. Interestingly, though, little side note, we all know what the Iron Throne looks like on the show. George R.R. Martin has said that it's not quite what he would. I mean, he understands that they can't build what he would envision because it's too grand, because this is a TV show and there are like budgets and limits and like normal stuff. But he identified this illustration by Mark Simonetti as close to his vision of it. Check that thing out.
Wow. You couldn't build that once and then just keep it? Like, this show has a multi-million-dollar budget. Build it once and keep it.
Remember, season 1, though, it wasn't a giant phenomenon yet. I don't know. That's pretty complicated.
That is.
Do you think they could build that?
No.
I mean, of course they could, but
they could, but not with the budget that they had. I do like the scaled down version that we see on the show.
Yeah.
This would be iconic too, I think. But
absolutely.
I feel like what they ended up with is much more easy to digest.
And also easy. Let's not talk about this. Like, easy to replicate, easy to like bring along to cons and fairs and advertising opportunities and get your face taken on the Iron Throne. Like, you're not going to have that at a premiere or something.
But that, because when
it makes an impression.
When they're describing the throne, when George R.R. Martin's describing the throne and everything that went into it and why it is the way that it is, I'm picturing the one that's on the show, and it's still lined up with that image of what it should actually look like, because it's like all of the swords of the dead and all that, and you shouldn't be able to sit on it comfortably. And this, I was thinking, when he said you're not supposed to be able to sit on it comfortably, I was like, oh, maybe they like put some swords like sticking up a little bit so you're a little uncomfortable. And that is just like, that's uncomfortable to sit on.
Yeah,
you have to
like raise it, and also it's like,
and everything, and
it's like swords all around you. Like, the one on the show looks like you can sit on it without too much trouble.
Yeah, I was like, maybe there's like a couple of stones in there. It makes it a little hard to sit on. That's like
he also
monstrosity.
said, this hunched black beast made of razor edges and barbs and ribbons and sharp metal, a chair that could kill a man, and had, if the stories could be believed. I mean, the whole point of like it's supposed to be uncomfortable to sit on thing, I think is supposed to be also a bit of a metaphor that it's supposed to be hard to be a king. Yeah. Like you're not supposed to do it like Robert does it,
Heavy
where you just kind of
the crown, that whole thing. Yeah.
Yes, this is like sharp is the chair that you sit on and make proclamations. Like Robert doesn't, he can't handle it.
Yeah.
He can't handle the chair or the kingship. He runs off and hunts and leaves the hard decisions to other people. Ned is making the hard decisions, and in a way, he does get cut by the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
That's kind of what kills him. Like he makes these decisions and they come back to bite him.
Yeah.
What decision, let's just talk about really briefly before we wrap it up, like what decisions he does make in this chapter. So these villagers come to him and they say the mountains ransacked our village, ransacked our holdfast, burned our crops, you know, peasant problems. We want redress.
Yeah.
This is Tywin Lannister doing this when you want to go attack Tywin. So, and Ned decides, okay, you can go do it. Sends people to go, I'm going to send some soldiers to go hunt down the mountain, which is a direct, you know, assault on the Lannisters. That's on Tywin Lannister. The mountain works Tywin Lannister. And basically, he's declaring war, pretty much, on Tywin. I mean, I'm sure he hopes it'll wrap up quickly. It doesn't. But that's what he's doing. Is that the right call? Because there are some alternatives offered. Like Pycelle says, let's wait for the king to get back before we make a decision.
Yeah.
Maybe he could have gone to Tywin directly instead of going to arrest and execute the person who did this to see if he could calm things down. But Ned, again, he took like the right thing to do sort of route, where this man has ransacked this place. Let's go arrest this guy and bring him to justice and kill him.
Yeah, and that's why Ned would have never made a good king, because unfortunately he made the right call. Like somebody's ransacking.
He made the right call. That's good.
Yeah, somebody's ransacking. You got to go out. You got to go get him. Got to bring some justice, and that's not what a king should do in this situation. I think the right move would have been to go to Tywin first and be like, what the hell, man? Like, how to negotiate a little bit and then make action from there. Whereas,
punish your own guy, maybe. He could offer it.
Or give him the option to say, look, I know that this is happening. I'm putting this in your court to take care of. If you don't, then I'm going to step in as the king.
That's a good call.
Kind of,
get some plausible deniability thing going.
Yeah. So whereas like Ned was doing the noble thing, he was doing the heroic thing, where it's like the peasants are in trouble, the peasants need the king. I'm going to go save them and save the day, which ultimately is the wrong call, or at least maybe not ultimately the wrong call, but he jumped to it sooner than he should have. He should have gone through a different route to get there. Waiting until Robert came back would have been the worst decision, because then nothing would have happened. Robert would have delegated. And
well, I mean, probably.
But it would that would have been the opposite of Ned, because Ned, whereas Robert always passes his problems off to somebody else, Ned would never pass his problems off to Robert. And I think that he approached this as, I'm the interim king, so this is my
Robert
problem.
Did leave him in charge. It's not like...
Yeah, so it's his problem. He's not going to wait for somebody to come back and be like, hey, this thing went wrong while you were gone. You know, the house lit on fire. I was going to call 911, but, you know, your name's on the deed, so I figured you should be the one to do it. So and that's Ned's flaw. It's his heroic flaw, I think. And I wasn't surprised by his decision, but it was a little tragic, because I was like...
It is, because you know where it's going. I mean, again, I think it's important to think about, though, that it does come off as the right thing to do, and it should.
Yeah.
So, again, it's why the last bit is such a gut punch and a surprise.
Yeah.
Because he has played by the book normally. And if Robert came back, I think Ned would be afraid that Cersei would lean on him or something.
Yeah.
And also that I think he doesn't trust Robert by this point. Like, too much has happened. But as we know, Robert will come back on the edge of death. We'll get to that in the very near future.
In the next chapter.
I haven't checked which chapters yet, because this was a busy day.
There's a Sansa chapter next.
Oh, good.
I was thumbing ahead.
Yes. Okay, we got Sansa. Let's see how long that goes on for. Okay, and then another Eddard, because we just cannot stop. All right. How about, these are both, briefish. How about the next Sansa chapter and then the next Eddard chapter?
All right.
All right. We will thank you, Josh. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you. Always love coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Julie, Karen, Rick.
Julie, Karen, Rick.
And everybody else. We'll be back here next week at Wednesday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. here in the Winter's Coming Facebook page. And if you miss it between now and then, head to iTunes, head to Google Play, download us in podcast form on iTunes, Google Play. And thanks a lot for watching, and see you next week.